In a previous video, I mentioned the importance of scaffolding, but I didn't elaborate much on it. And this is one of the most important systems for beginner runners. Without clarity, without walking through what that actually means, it's easy to overlook. After reflecting on what's actually helped me as a beginner runner who started as 33, I came back with 4 things. These are the 4 pillars that I'm still building my running habit around that have helped me stay consistent for over 2 years without any injuries while running faster and stronger. When most people start running, they overfocus on things that are related to cardio only. The heart rate, the breathing, anything that relates to the aerobic system. And yes, that's absolutely part of it. But it's just one of the parts. Most beginner runners, including myself, undervalues the frame that's required to sustain the training. And the entire frame includes conditioned muscles to absorb impact, a recovered nervous system which can be affected by daily stress, and the fuel you need for your body during the run. Running itself doesn't build all of that. Running only builds your ability to run. Everything else, the entire frame that holds the runner, has to build outside of running. And this is what scaffolding is about. It is your ability to have a recovered, strengthened body to sustain your next run. And here are the 4 pillars that make up great scaffolding. The first pillar is sleep. Your run doesn't start the moment you start running. It starts the nights before then. Without a good night of sleep prior to the run, you are already making your next run harder before it even starts. One thing to experiment throughout my journey was my sleeping cycle. I want to know if sleeping at different times of the day with the same amount of time actually make a difference in sleeping quality. And you probably already know it. Yes, it does make a difference. What I experimented with first was an early morning schedule. This is what most productivity influencers online are overhyping on. So I gave it a try. I tried to slot my sleep between 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., being an early bird sleeper. After doing that for a week and compared that to when I start my sleep at 11 p.m. with the same 8 hours of sleep, I found out that sleeping at 11 and waking up at 7 the next day is way more efficient than sleeping at 9 and waking up at 5 in the morning. I'll feel way more energetic, way more rested, and having to take less nap with that sleeping schedule. It proves that sleeping at the right time of the day can contribute to good quality of sleep. After all the experiment I did with my sleeping, combining that with a healthy running habit, my resting heart rate dropped from 60 to 54 beats per minute. So the big takeaway is this: the run itself doesn't make you stronger, recovery does. And the deepest recovery happens during deep sleep. At 30 plus, you spend less time in deep sleep naturally than you did at your early 20s. So every minute of deep sleep counts more. Once I lock myself in the sleep window that I need, I started dreaming again, almost every single night. And there are much more data that supports better sleep once I have the right sleeping pattern. Now, everyone is different. What works for me might not work for you. But what doesn't change is you have one that fits you, and you should spend the time experimenting to find out. This sleep pattern that I just tested is called chronotype. You can do your own research and, most importantly, experiment with it. And I use this Oura Ring to track my sleep. It has been my favorite gear that gives me the most accurate data I need to find my sleeping sweet spot. If you're interested in getting one, use my referral code to get 10% off. Link in description. Remember, your body has the sleeping rhythm it wants. Most people only hear that they need 8 hours of sleep. But your body's rhythm also affected by when you sleep. Listening to your body's recovery rhythm will give you an extra edge on recovering fast and build the scaffolding properly. Pillar number 2, strength and mobility. This is the pillar most beginners runners overlooked for 2 main reasons. 1, they undervalue injury prevention because they don't feel injured yet, and proactive work doesn't feel urgent until something breaks. 2, finding time for strength and mobility means running less. And when you're trying to get better at running, running more just feels like the obvious choice. Logically, you will run more to get better at running. Anything else just feels like a distraction. Both of these reasons are wrong. For me, I learned it from my experience with ice hockey. I played the sport for more than 6 years in my mid-20s, and the thing that kept me on the ice wasn't being on the ice more. It was the strength and mobility training that put time on when I'm not on the ice. Being a goalie means that I have to stand and balance myself on the ice for a whole hour. And it requires different muscles than when I'm on the ground. A different level of strength and mobility to sustain that. And running is no different. Especially as a beginner runner, you're not used to use those leg muscles as much. You need to condition them outside of running to support your running. Most beginners think that time spent on running is meant to build that muscle. The reality is that the strength you gain from running itself isn't enough. The running doesn't give you mobility, which is crucial for preventing injuries. Here are the rules that rewired my thinking. Strengthening isn't just about getting stronger and bigger. It's about making your muscle more efficient, so each stride during the run costs less. More efficiency means less damage. Less damage means you can run more. I once come close to running burnout. I thought better sleep is all I need. But with zero strength and mobility work, my body was quietly accumulating fatigue I couldn't see until I'm almost there. So here's what you can do on this pillar right away. You don't need a gym, you just need some body weight work. So do some single leg and hip mobility exercises. Exercise that activates your legs and glutes. The muscle that sits all day at the desk needs to be woken up before you ask them to carry you to run for a long period of time. Daily stretching, not just workout days, every day. And these are my secret weapons that play an important role for building a fresh pair of legs on every run I do. Pillar number 3, fuel. The food and nutrition that you consume and don't consume matters. One of the biggest moments I experienced with the lack of fuel was when I ran my first 10K. I ran the exact same way I did with the shorter distance run that I did. I didn't eat anything prior to the run. I didn't bring any gels or water with me. And I remember clearly that I hit the wall on about the 8K part. And the moment I hit that, every stride got super heavy. My energy was gone, not gradually, but with a clear crash. And after the run, I had this weird craving for ice cream. And it was a surprise to me because normally I don't crave sugar. But my body was screaming for quick energy. And on top of that, the rest of the day was ruined for me. I was hungry, unfocused, my body struggled to recover. That's the run when I first experienced what it feels like when my body runs out of fuel entirely. A healthy running habit should never have moments like this. Not only challenges your body physically, but it makes you question if running is worth the suffering. In reality, you don't have to experience it if you have fueled properly. So here's the change in mindset. When I was a beginner, I thought nutrition was for marathoners. Gels, carb loading, race day strategy. And I thought I was only running for 10K. All these strategies won't apply to me. But obviously I was totally wrong. Running changes what your body asks for. If you keep eating and feeling exact same way, you'll feel terrible when you run longer distances. And when it happens, the biggest mistake you can make is if you think running is the problem and you give yourself a reason to quit. Here are the 3 rules I follow now for every run. 1. Understand the distance and effort required for the run I'm about to do. If I'm running a distance longer than I have ever ran before, I need better fueling. 2. Always bring backup fueling. I can never accurately predict how I feel during the run that hasn't happened yet. So I always have an extra gel or bag of candies with me if I'm doing any run longer than 30 minutes. 3. Hydration isn't just water. Electrolytes are part of it as well. When I know I'm going to sweat a lot, I drink electrolyte before, during, and after the run. Remember this, the signals being sent to your brain when you're dehydrated weakens with age. If you feel terrible on easy runs and don't know why, you could just be dehydrated. So keep hydrating and do it before you feel thirsty. Fuel proactively is much better than fuel after you need it. So understand what your body needs before, so you won't be scrambling after. Last pillar, pillar 4, knowing when to stop running. Now, all of the previous pillars I mentioned, they're all physical, things that you can genuinely do more to get better. But this pillar focuses on the mental side of it. For a year and a half, I was in a frustrating loop. I would follow my training plan to the dot and never stop putting in the work, only to realize that I was getting nowhere near the progress I thought I earned. And I looked at other runners and thought, why wasn't I improving? And after 1.5 years into the journey, I found my answer. The answer was actually very simple. I was never fully recovered. I wasn't injured, but I wasn't healthy neither. I was in what I call a semi-injury state. I was constantly tired and working hard with very little to show for it. The reality is that our bodies cannot gain as much benefits from running if our muscles are consistently tired. And here are the mindset I adopted and been helping me a lot after that. You have to let go of progress to make progress. The pace, the heart rate numbers, the running streak, holding onto those metrics makes stopping feel like failure, like you're losing progress. This pillar is all about managing effort. That's the skill every runner needs no matter what level they're in. The skill when stop running doesn't mean rest days, but also knowing when to make changes on your plan and allowing yourself to run slower and resting even when it's not part of the plan. I made a whole video about what injury runners skip, but here's the short version. Your body gives you signals when it's actually tired. And most runners, including me for 1.5 years, we ignore those signals way too much and way too frequently. Most importantly for us who are in our 30s or older, there are things that can contribute to longer pause in running. We have a stress bucket. On top of running stress, you also feel with stress from work, from family, from life. All these types of stress are put together and your body doesn't separate them. A 22-year-old's bucket can be mostly empty. But when you're 30 plus, with a career and many responsibilities that you've been taking, that bucket is likely already half full before the run starts. And the bucket will slow down the effectiveness of your recovery during the pause. And therefore, you would need a longer pause on your running than when you have less stress. So listen to your body and take a longer pause if needed. So those are the 4 pillars of scaffolding. Sleep, so your body can rebuild what running breaks down. Strength and mobility, so your body can handle impact without breaking. Fuel, so your body has the energy going into the run and during the run. And lastly, take some pauses on your running schedule and be okay to pause more even though that's not part of the plan. So your body can fully absorb all the work you put in before you go again. Running builds cardio, but running itself doesn't build on any of these pillars. That's the frame, and that's scaffolding. So there you go. None of this is sexy or glamorous, and that's why they're being ignored and less respected. But when the scaffolding is done right, when all 4 pillars are working, you will stop needing to push yourself, and you just know exactly when to rest, when to enjoy life, when to run, and when to do everything else. You'll become healthier and stronger, and you'll gain the capacity to do things that wouldn't have been possible if running never started. This is what the channel is about. It's about how we can reach this state. The state where running doesn't drain you, but rather it fits into your lifestyle, when effort feels like no effort at all. In my previous videos, I told you the first 6 months aren't about pace or distance. They're about changing how you see yourself. But that identity shift only sticks if the frame is there to hold it. And building that frame after 30 isn't about being tougher than you were at 22. It's about constructing that support that makes toughness unnecessary. If you're someone who just started running and you're figuring out how to make it stick, drop a comment. Share what's working and what you're struggling with. My name is Felix, just figuring things out one run at a time. I'll see you on the next one.